Good evening and welcome to eNews. I'm Shahan Ramkisoon. It's great to have you with us. Our top stories tonight. A country in turmoil. Hundreds of Zimbabweans are detained as the United Nations tries to put pressure on President Emmerson Mnangagwa. Calls for government to make South Africa's railway system safer as 2 people are buried after a train crash. The crisis in neighboring Zimbabwe is deepening. Public workers in that country are now rejecting a second offer to increase their salaries, instead insisting they be paid in dollars. It comes just days after several people died during violent anti-government protests. Hundreds of Zimbabweans are behind bars for demonstrating as the United Nations calls for an end to the security crackdown and an internet blackout. Meanwhile, the This Flag movement founder will remain behind bars. His detention followed mass protests over a 150% fuel hike.
Evan Moarire faces charges of subverting a constitutional government. The activist called on citizens to embark on a 3-day stay away to protest the hikes. On Monday, Zimbabweans took to the streets of Harare and Bulawayo, demanding government resignation over a failed economy.
Can a magistrate refuse to hear a bail application? Under what law? They can't. But they are all refusing to hear bail applications. So there can be no question that the Judicial Services Commission is currently presiding over a system that does not fit the purpose for which our constitution was designed.
Meanwhile, militant social movement Tajamuka says the arrest won't deter protesters. The group says demonstrations will continue until President Emmerson Mnangagwa quits.
We are not at all deterred by the crackdown. We are very concerned that there is a crackdown. It shows that this is not the government that we need. This is not the government that Mnangagwa promised the people of Zimbabwe. It's clearly that he is not committed to a democratic process, is not committed to democratic governance, and therefore is not committed to the development of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is not going to be developed by arresting people. Zimbabwe is not going to be developed through intimidation.
More than 600 people were arrested in the demonstrations, with some people already appearing in court. Pindai Due, Harare, Zimbabwe.
The Transport Department is being urged to ensure train safety in South Africa. Today, Dick and Sarah Sikoma were laid to rest after being killed in a train accident at the Mountain View railway station north of Pretoria. The family made a plea to government to fix trains before people board them. Michael Apple reports.
A collision on the 8th of January at the Mountain View railway station north of Pretoria killed 3 and injured 600 others. Parents Dick and Sarah Sikoma were traveling with 3 of their 6 children when tragedy struck. A service was held in Soshanguve where Sarah Sikoma's sister had this message for transport officials.
Abalukise diterena ba make sure gore before batho ba namela diterene tseo di mo conditioning ya gore le bona ba prasa ba ka inamela ba ye mmerekong ka yona na.
Speaking at the service, the acting Transport Director General says the passenger rail agency shouldn't squarely shoulder all the blame.
So when the people keep on stealing the cables, it means now PRASA will resort to the manual signaling, which is not really correct, which is not good.
Meanwhile, the agency says cable theft issues aside, it has to get the basics right.
How do we reinstate the culture of safety within all structures of PRASA, from myself as a group CEO to the train drivers, the train control officers, so that at least we are able to make sure that there are no human errors that are allowed in the system in whatever form.
Days after the collision, the railway's safety regulator said a breakdown in communication between a control officer and a driver led to the crash. The incident took place along a stretch of rail operating under manual authorization since November last year. Michael Apple, Pretoria.
Gauteng authorities are urging communities to protect public property, especially schools. Earlier this week, tablets, laptops, desktop computers and projectors were stolen from the newly opened Menzi Primary School in Tsakane. Now, some of the items have since been recovered and several suspects have been arrested.
Theft and vandalism in schools across the country is rife. One such school is Ratanda Secondary in Heidelberg.
This weekend, when we came back on Monday, we had a break-in. All our nutrition utensils were stolen.
Despite these challenges, Ratanda Secondary School achieved a 100% pass rate. The Gauteng Department of Community Safety highlights gangsterism as one of the problems plaguing the local community. But the MEC says there are programs in place to remedy the situation.
In the past few years, we have focused on making sure that we deal with boys and sometimes girls who are involved in gangsterism, and we take them to camps and also take them to visits to prisons in order for them to experience the prison lives, which will be the end results if some of them continue to be delinquent and be problematic in their own schools.
One of the solutions going forward is for communities to lead the way in protecting schools in the area. Heidelberg.
Almost 3 years after Zamakwake Ndlovu was killed under suspicious circumstances, his friends and family are still in the dark. The Director of Public Prosecutions has declined to prosecute the police officers involved. In 2016, Ndlovu and a group of friends were mistakenly arrested for an armed robbery. Tathia is following this story.
Unemployed and far away from job opportunities, Sabelo Ngema spends his time praying for justice. In 2016, he moved to KwaMashu to pursue a job opportunity. That same year, his life changed forever. He and a group of friends were mistakenly arrested for an armed robbery. Police allegedly set their dogs on them. His friend, Zamakwake Ndlovu, was shot dead while they were detained in KwaMashu. Ngema had been handcuffed to his friend when the fatal shot rang out from behind them.
Ngoba ngangazi ukuthi njengoba amaphoyisa alimaza abantu kanje alimaza umuntu nginaye ngingazi ukuthi kwangaqhubekala kanjani mhlawumbe nami ngilandeleke.
After almost 3 years, he's no closer to finding out why his friend was killed.
Emva kwesigameko kukho nje ngakuzwa emaphoyiseni nakwa IPD.
Back in Durban, Zamakwake's brother is still trying to get answers from the Independent Police Investigative Directorate.
Khona le case le kahle kahle mfana Ndlovu lo kubo Zamani lo adudulela ka police station. Okay. No, ngithi Durban court ukuthi ngitshela. No, ayithe wini. Yeah. Ituzo makhoti ngitshela ukuthi imita kanjani hlele kanjani ayimita. Mina mbize ukubhoka okay. Yeah. Ngoba kuyobe kuyiformal hearing. Yebo. Laba bezinja ngabe bona basasebenza.
This is not what Ndlovu wants to hear.
Ngifisa ukuthi uyiphoyisa leli ligcine liboshiwe noma ligcine lixoshiwe emsebenzini liphelele umsebenzi.
The official response from the IPID is that the Director of Public Prosecutions declined to prosecute. The DPP instead suggested the case be treated as an inquest. The SAPS says the actions of the officer involved in the shooting were not deemed to be criminal. All Ngema has now are the painful scars of March 2nd, 2016, and the memories of his deceased friend. Tathia, Eshowe in KwaZulu-Natal.
Coming up on eNews, we'll tell you about Laura Morrison's mission in a Morris minor from Scotland to South Africa. Welcome back. It seems sustained protest action is paying off for Bo Kaap residents. They've been calling for the entire neighborhood to be declared a heritage site to help preserve their culture and traditions. Now the city of Cape Town is reopening the process to make that happen. Peladi Setusa has the details.
Buakap residents are one step closer to getting their way. Public participation has opened to secure what's termed heritage overlay protection.
An overlay consists of guidelines for future development and alterations of any building or land use rights within the area that it protects.
Things like construction materials and heights of buildings will be standardized to maintain the area's look and feel. But sites already under development won't be affected, like the luxury apartments which sparked protests last year.
They've already obtained the rights. As I've explained, the overlay won't take any rights away. It will just guide the future exercising of that overlay.
While this process unfolds, heritage status is also being pursued at a national level.
As we speak now, in accordance with the National Heritage Resources Act, the South African Heritage Resource Agency is processing that application to ensure that the Buakap is declared a national heritage site.
Residents have a month to submit their comments. The City Council will be making a final decision by the end of March. Peladi Setusa, Cape Town.
Have you ever thought of driving from Scotland to South Africa? Well, that's exactly what Laura Morrison did. She drove her classic Morris Minor at a speed of 85 kilometers per hour.
This was Laura Morrison's seat for more than 26,000 kilometers. She left Aberdeen in Scotland on the 1st of June last year and finally last weekend arrived in Cape Town.
The 1958 Morris Minor she travelled in belonged to her dad. It was named Charlie after her grandfather, who had a similar vehicle in Aberdeen. It was her dad's dream to drive from Scotland to Africa, but he died of cancer before he could attempt it. Laura Morrison drove through the Sahara and Namib deserts without aircon. And despite the sweltering heat, she loved the trip.
I love this continent. This journey really was about people, and the people in this continent are amazing. I had so many people help along the way. You know, there was trouble along the way. I got broke down. I was on the side of the road for quite a bit, and there was always somebody there to help me, to smile, to laugh with me about it.
Her journey took her through 16 countries. This was no doubt challenging.
Traveling into Addis, the capital of Ethiopia, we had to get towed 8 times by 8 different vehicles. So that was a pretty challenging day, but I just always knew that I had to make a plan and I had to get here.
Charlie arrived in Cape Town last week.
That was quite an emotional day, you know, like this has been a journey for 7.5 months. So to finally drive into Cape Town was pretty awesome. But it did take a couple of days to kind of sink in, and now I'm just like, wow, I've done it.
Her adventure with Charlie wasn't just for fun. Morrison raised more than 300,000 rand for cancer research. Nadine Theron, Cape Town.
International news now. Madagascar's newly elected president, Andry Rajoelina, has pledged to fight corruption and grow the economy. He was speaking during his inauguration speech earlier. The former club DJ turned politician regained power after winning a second round of vote last month. It's the first time in the history of the crisis-prone island that the president's inauguration has taken place in the presence of his electoral rivals and previous heads of state. Rajoelina initially led Madagascar from 2009 to 2014 following an army-led coup. And rescuers in southern Spain have started drilling tunnels in an effort to reach a 2-year-old boy trapped in a well. The toddler fell into the borehole 6 days ago when his family walked through a private estate in Totolan. The hole is just 25 centimeters wide and 100 meters deep. Rescuers have been unable to find signs of life, but they're refusing to give up. The story has gripped the nation, and residents have been holding vigils for the family and rescuers. After the break, your weather details, and then Michelle Obama turns 55, and naturally, her birthday wishes came from the world's most famous.
Welcome to the Weather Center. We are going to start off Sunday with cloudy skies giving us light rain and drizzle over parts of the East Coast and the Adjacent Interior, and we will also be seeing light rain and thunderstorms for parts of Mpumalanga, Limpopo, Gauteng and the eastern areas of the Northwest. Then in the afternoon, we are going to see mostly sunny and hot weather once again for the western parts of the country to stay fairly wet for the KZN coastal areas, and isolated thunderstorms are going to pop up over parts of northeastern South Africa. We stay with those thunderstorms in the evening for the northeastern areas, and much of KwaZulu-Natal will be seeing light rain in the evening. Now we are going to stay with a sunny and sizzling hot weather on Sunday for much of the Northern Cape. Appington warming to around 37 degrees, a high of 33 is forecast for Kimberley. A mostly sunny and warm to hot day is forecast for the Western Cape. Cape Town warming to around 29 degrees. We are expecting similar weather for the western and northern areas of the Eastern Cape. However, it will be partly cloudy for the eastern sections with light rain for the coastal areas. It's going to be mostly cloudy with light rain and drizzle for much of KwaZulu-Natal, and top temperatures here are going to lie mostly in the lower to mid-20s. We are also going to see a bit of rain for parts of eastern Mpumalanga. It will be partly cloudy and dry for the Highveld, where mild to warm afternoon temperatures are expected. Light rain and thunderstorms are forecast for parts of the Limpopo province. Polokwane should warm to around 25 degrees. We are also going to see thunderstorms for the eastern half of the Northwest, Mahikeng and Rustenburg, both peaking at around 30 degrees. On the other hand, it will be mostly sunny and warm to hot for much of the Free State, Bloemfontein peaking at 30 degrees. Gauteng should see thundery showers on Sunday afternoon. Johannesburg and Soweto warming to around 26 degrees on Sunday afternoon. Now on Monday, we are going to see isolated thunderstorms around Kimberley and Bloemfontein. Otherwise, it will be mostly sunny and warm to hot for the bulk of South Africa. Then on Tuesday, thunderstorms continue for the central parts of the country, spreading into the northern sections.
And on a lighter note, former U.S. President Barack Obama scored some brownie points with his wife this week. Our reporter Lindy Resitole tells us how Michelle Obama celebrated her birthday.
Happy birthday, Michelle Obama. Michelle Obama just turned 55 years old, and this birthday message from Barack will simply melt your heart. Thursday was a special day for this birthday girl. Barack posted this throwback picture saying that he knew way back then and is absolutely convinced today that she is one of a kind. Oh, how beautiful. Michelle's close friend Beyoncé also shared a picture of the former First Lady back in time. She left a simple yet powerful caption saying, "Bow down." Other stars who left her messages include Tracy Ellis Ross, Shonda Rhimes and Ellen DeGeneres. Obviously, Ellen's message was way more entertaining. Take a look at this tribute.
Michelle, what did you put in here? Oh my God. What? Michelle, you can't do that. I was just wondering if you could do more push-ups than I could do. Besides your family, who would you like to go on a road trip with? Ellen.
Here's a reminder of our top stories before we go. A country in turmoil, hundreds of Zimbabweans are detained as the United Nations tries to put pressure on President Emmerson Mnangagwa. Calls for government to make South Africa's railway system safer as 2 people are buried after a train crash. That's it from me, Shahan Ramki Soon, and the rest of the team. Good night.